All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're doing lesson 7.3 right now, which is identifying proportions. And proportions are two different ratios or two different fractions, and we're deciding whether or not they are proportionally related, meaning are they equivalent? It's a fancy way of saying are they equivalent. For example, if I have 1/10 of something that is the same as 10/100ths. It's just a larger proportion, but it's the same proportions. And this is true with a lot of things that we do in real life. For example, if I'm cooking, if I have one 1 cup of flour to every 2 cups of sugar, if I want to make a triple batch, I will need to do some math, and they will need to be proportionally the same. Um, and what we're going to do in this lesson is basically decide whether or not we have a proportion. So it's really simple. It's just really looking at it and being able to identify, is this a proportion, yes or no? And really the question we're asking is, are they equivalent? So my first example here is 5/6 and 25/30. And we're going to decide whether or not these are proportional, whether they are related. Now you can look at them and probably say, yes, Mr. Briggs, they already are. But ratios get complicated. Remember, because sometimes ratios, they'll throw in fractions or decimals for a top number or a bottom number, because that's how they work. We need to understand how they work and come up with a system for figuring out whether they are proportional 100% for sure all the time. So, long story short, there are three ways I'm going to show you how to do that. There is a simple way, and the simple way is simple, and it'll work for you about 90% of the time and takes only a second. The good way takes a little bit longer, but it's using what we know about fractions. And then there is the expert way, which is a tricky little thing in math called cross proportions and cross products, rather. And it's really kind of neat. It's really elegant. It works, but um, it it is a little tricky, which is why it's the expert level. I'd like you to try all three. So we're going to do the first one here in the simplest way. And the simplest way is really, really simple. That's why it's simple. Is you say, what times 5 gives me 25? Well, I have to multiply by 5 to get 25. Times 6, and whatever happens at the top times 5 has to happen at the bottom. And 6 times 5 gives me 30. So 5 times 5 gives me 25. 6 times 5 gives me 30. And the answer is yes, they are proportional. But I need to do a little bit more. I need to decide in the good way, is this proportional? And the good way is using what we know about fractions to basically simplify. Can I divide 5 and 6 by anything? Well, no, it's already a simplified fraction for me, 5/6. But 25 and 30, can I divide 25 and 30 by something? Well, I can divide it by 5. 25 divided by 5 is 5, and 30 divided by 5 is 6. And that is the same. So according to simplifying both fractions, yes, they are equal. Okay? Well, now comes the tricky part. The tricky part here is the expert way. And the expert way, Mr. Briggs just learned this morning, so go easy on him. But he learned this from Mr. Schiller, so if it doesn't make sense, blame him. All right. And the expert way is to do what is called cross proportions. And cross proportions is multiplying the numerator times the denominator. And if those two numbers match, we're good. So I start with 5 on this side, and I have 25 on this side. And 5, what is across from it? That's right, 30. So I'm going to multiply 5 times 30 to get one side. Then I take a look at 6. What? No, sorry, not 6. 25. What is across from 25? Well, what is across from 25? The answer is 6. 6 is across from 25. So now I do this problem. 5 times 30. Okay, 5 times 30. I know that 5 times 3 is 15. I add my 0, I get 150. 25 times 6. Well, I know that 4 25s is 100, 2 25s is 60. I'm sorry, 50. That is 150. I get 150, I get 150. So they are indeed equivalent. They are proportional. So those are 3 different ways to do it. All of them work. All of them might work better for you. Like I said, the simplest one will work 90% of the time, but sometimes will fail you when we get into some more complicated things. The good way, well, that is very useful for people that are good with fractions, and the expert way is for people that really want to have a system that works foolproof, and it comes in really handy when you're using things like decimals, because sometimes the simple way and the good way when we're doing decimals really fails us. Okay, let's go ahead now. I'm going to clean this all up. I made a gigantic mess on my board, and we'll do 2 more really quickly, okay, because I want to model that. And what I have now is a incredibly simple one here to do. And the simple way would probably be the easiest way for me to do it. But I want to really model these 3 different ways so that they will come in handy to you. Okay, we have first the simple way, 10 30ths and 20 40ths. Now 10 times what gives me 20? Well, 10 times 2 gives me 20. But 30 times 2 should give me 60. But what we have in there is 40. So the answer is no, these are not equivalent. At least that's what the simple way tells me. Let's see if the good way agrees. The good way. Can I divide 10 by something and 30 by something? Yes, I can divide them both by 10. 10 divided by 10 is 1. 30 divided by 10 is 3. I get 1/3. Okay. Now 20 and 40, can I divide them by something? Well, I can divide them by 10 too. What I end up getting is, well, actually I can divide it by 20. What am I talking about? 20 divided by 20 is 1, and 40 divided by 20 is 2. I get 1/2. 1/3 does not equal 1/2, so this answer in this one is no. Now, let's see about the expert way. I take my numerators and I put them down. I have 10 on one side, 20 on the other. Okay, 10 I'm going to multiply by what is across from it, which is 40. And 20 I'm going to multiply by what is across from it, which is 30. Okay, so when I do 10 times 40, I get 400, because 1 times 4 plus those 2 zeros. And 30 times 20 ends up being 600. 400 and 600 are not equal, so the answer for this one is no. All right. Let's do another example here. 18 ninths and 6/3. Okay. No reason to rewrite that. 18 ninths and 6/3. Using the simple way. 18 times what gives me 6? Well, actually not times anything. I can also do divide, as long as I'm doing the same function. 18 divided by 3 gives me 6. 9 divided by 3 gives me 3. So this would say, yes, they are equivalent. Now, let's try the good way, simplification. Can I do 18 and 9 divided by something? Yes, I can. I can divide it by 9. I end up getting what? 18 divided by 9 gives me 2. 9 divided by 9 gives me 1. I get 2/1. Now, 6 and 6/3, can I divide that by something? Yeah, I can divide that by 3. 6 divided by 3 is 2, and 3 divided by 3 is 1. They are equal. So the answer in the good way is yes, they are equal. Now let's try our expert way. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put down 18 on this side. I'm going to put down 6 on that side. And then I'm going to put in my brackets. 18 times, what's across from it? 3. And 6, okay, times what's across from it? 9. All right. And I do 18 times 3, which I don't really know on the top of my head, but I'll do it real quick. 3 times 8 is 24. 3 times 1 is 3, plus the 2 is 54, so I get 54 on this side. And 9 times 6, I know on the top of my head, is 54. So yes, they are equivalent. All right, now I just want to use one example of one that's going to be where the expert way is going to be probably your best bet. And the answer for that one is going to be this. 20 eighths and 3.5, 3 and 5 tenths over 1 and 4 tenths. Now you might say to yourself, Mr. Briggs, a decimal can't be a fraction, but we're really talking about a ratio, and in a ratio, yes, they can be. We have to think a little outside the box here, but we need to decide whether or not these are good. And if I try to use the simple way, well, I don't know, what times 20 gives me 3 divided by what gives me 3.5, and I don't know what times 8 off the top of my head equals 1.4. So this is going to be tricky. And as for good, I don't know how easy it's going to be for me to simplify 5 tenths. So this is where expert comes in handy. The first step, again, is to copy down your numerators. Then, do that cross multiplication, 1.4. And on this side, we're going to put in 3.5 has 8. Okay. And I'm going to give you a second to try it out for yourself. All right, I pulled out my handy calculator. In the meantime, and this is where a calculator could be handy, I do 20 times 1.4. I get 28. Now if I do clear that out, 8 times 3.5, and I get 28. So in fact, yes, they are equivalent. Okay, and if you follow along and did the good, simple, and expert way, and kind of feel you have a strong grasp of it, here are your problems that you must do before I'll let you start your homework. Go ahead and do these. Come and see me to see if they're correct. Make sure you show all your work, and then we're good.